Welcome, everyone. It is Friday, February the 21st, 2020. It is currently 12:37 p.m. Central Time. Well, I'm here at Victory Baptist Church, and I was just about to pack everything up, get in my car, head home, get some lunch, do some other things today. Thought I'd accomplished, I did two live streams from here, from the church. Hopefully they were beneficial. Hopefully they were helpful. But as I was getting ready to go, I got a notification on my iPad, which I get all the time because I subscribe to a million different things so I can keep up with what's happening in the world. But I saw this headline: Iranian student group threatens to destroy tomb of Queen Esther and Mordecai. And I'm like, wait a minute. When is this dated? So I look down. Okay, it's dated Friday, February the 21st. Okay, so it's current. All right. What do I do with this? So I was going to go ahead and leave, but then I thought, you know what? If I'm going to talk about this, I better talk about it right now. So I'll at least hit the go live button, at least tell everyone what's going on, give them the information that I have, and then everyone can at least be aware of it and follow it. So again, an Iranian student group threatens to destroy the tomb of Queen Esther, Mordecai. All right. This comes to us from Christian Headlines, christianheadlines.com. Again, it was posted Friday, February the 21st, 2020, which is today. Here is the story. The Basij group, all right, Basij, B-A-S-I-J, B-A-S-I-J. I believe it is correctly pronounced Basij. If I am mispronouncing that, I apologize, but I believe that is correct. The Basij group, a student group of Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, has threatened to destroy what many believe to be the ancient burial site of Queen Esther and Mordecai. The threat comes after President Donald Trump announced his Israeli-Palestinian peace plan. According to CBN News, the Basij group released a statement saying they want to tear down the tomb and replace it with a Palestinian consulate. We warn the United States and the Zionist regime that the first act of fulfilling their filthy desires and the slightest attack on Palestine and the holy Al-Quds, Jerusalem, means that they will no longer occupy a place as Esther's tomb. We'll turn it into a Palestine consulate, and you will see the fulfillment of this promise, their statement said. Please note they said promise, not threat. So, all right. Malmar, the director of the tourism office, however, said earlier this month that the tomb would be impossible to destroy because the tomb is a cultural heritage building. Meanwhile, the Alliance of Rights of All Minorities in Iran reported that the Basij group already attempted to raid the tomb last week. I didn't hear anything about this, but according to this, again, the Alliance for Rights of All Minorities in Iran, they reported that the Basij group already attempted to raid the tomb last week. The U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom issued a statement as well saying they are troubled by the threats. Now, these threats come just a week from Purim, a holiday dedicated to honoring Esther and Mordecai. Purim, I think is how you pronounce that. P-U-R-I-M. Purim, I think is how you say it. If I'm mispronouncing that, I apologize. So the threats also come just a week from Purim, a holiday dedicated to honoring Esther and Mordecai. With less than a month before Purim, people of all faiths should speak out before the desecration takes place, said the head of the Anti-Defamation League. The tomb of Queen Esther and Mordecai are an important Jewish pilgrimage site in Iran. This isn't the first time the site has been threatened. In December 2010, a group of Islamists threatened to destroy the tomb in response to fears that Israel was planning to damage a mosque in Jerusalem. All right. Yeah, that's pretty much the story. There's not a lot of information here, so let me just give you the basic information. An Iranian student group threatens to destroy the tomb of Queen Esther and Mordecai. It's the Basij group, B-A-S-I-J. You may want to look them up, find out something about this group. I'm not super familiar with them. They are a student group of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard. They have threatened to destroy what many to believe to be the ancient burial site of Queen Esther and Mordecai. Now, I am not familiar with this site. I don't know if it's questionable, if this is the true ancient burial site, if this is tradition. So I'm not super familiar with the site. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend to be an expert of something that I'm not. So you may want to look up this site. You may want to look up the Basij group. Again, this threat comes after President Donald Trump announced his Israeli-Palestinian peace plan. And the Basij group released a statement saying they want to tear down the tomb and replace it with a Palestinian consulate. And again, here is from their statement, and I will quote. This is in quotes, so I'm going to give you the quotes. Quote, "We warn the United States and the Zionist regime that the first act of fulfilling their filthy desires and the slightest attack on Palestine and the Holy Al-Quds," and they have in parentheses Jerusalem, "means that they will no longer occupy a place as Esther's tomb." So I guess they're going to do this like in a symbolic way, all right? I guess they're going to say, hey, we're going to demonstrate to you that the United States no longer has a place, just as Esther's tomb will destroy Esther's tomb to show you that it doesn't have a place and you don't have a place. Then they have then they say, we'll turn it into a Palestine consulate and you will see the fulfillment of this promise. End quote. Now, this is not, the way this is written clearly demonstrates that this is not the full text of their statement. I hate when the news does this. If you're going to give me part of the statement, at least give me a link so I can read the entire statement. All right. Sometimes the news drives me crazy. All right. So you may want to look up and see if you can find the full statement. So here are the things you may want to consider. Looking up the Basij group. Who are they? What do we know about them? Have they carried out acts of violence? If they have, what did they accomplish? How serious was it? Because that may give us some idea on how to determine the seriousness of the threat. So that's important. Second, you may want to look up this ancient burial site, supposedly what many believe to be the ancient burial site of Queen Esther and Mordecai. Is it, what's the evidence for this? How significant is this site? How many people make a pilgrimage there? How significant is this site? I mean, we may want to know something about this. And then we may want to find the entire statement by the Basij group so that we know exactly what they said. Now, it is interesting that last week they tried to raid the tomb. So if they tried to raid it last week, I think that's very important for us to really look at. We may want to look up reports and go, what did they actually accomplish? They attempted to raid. Like, how far did they get? What stopped them? Is there a large amount? Is there a security presence at this tomb? Was it just one security guard? Did they try to raid the tomb and someone said stop? And how serious is the threat? The article leaves us with a lot of information. And let me look here. Give me 1 second. I just set down my iPad. Purim. Less than a month before Purim. I'm going to look this up. When is I don't have the dates here. Purim 2020. Okay, Purim begins on the evening of Monday, March the 9th, and it ends the evening of Tuesday, March the 10th. So Purim begins on Monday, March the 9th, ends on Tuesday, March the 10th. I would assume that those two dates may become very critical for this threat. So it's something we may want to pay close attention to. We may want to be on the lookout for. If you have any further information, if you know something about the situation, obviously, I literally just discovered this and immediately walked over and hit the go live button. So that's how much I know. So I'm coming to you clearly acknowledging I'm not an expert in this. I can't make any predictions. I don't know enough about this, but I want us to have the information because you may miss this. I doubt this is going to be reported on, all the major news media. But if the site was destroyed, then it would probably show up on the news. But at that point, it would be after the fact instead of, knowing what's going on and what's happening and who's doing what. We have kind of an idea. So you can email me information that you may have to newsif@yahoo.com, newsif@yahoo.com. I just wanted this to be brought to your attention so that everyone could know, because I knew that if I walked out of here, probably won't have a chance to hit the go live button again today. And if something was to happen, well, I want you to know about that it could happen before it actually does happen. I always like to be, I hate reactive news. I like proactive news in this sense. I like when a situation is developing, I like to see what's happening, who's involved, what's going on, motivation, seriousness of the threat. I like to kind of follow a story as it develops. I hate to ignore something and then after go, react. Well, I like to kind of be right there in watching the situation develop. And then obviously you can pray. Let me make this very clear, and I'm going to say something very controversial, but that's okay. I hate war. Obviously, all human beings should hate war. I do understand sometimes war is necessary. And I do understand that in war, sometimes significant religious and cultural sites can be damaged and destroyed. I do not believe any military, including the United States military, should ever target and purposely destroy significant religious and cultural sites. However, I do know that sometimes a military may use a significant religious or cultural site, in a sense, for cover. They use it, they know that they can move something there and it shouldn't be attacked, because typically international law says, hey, do not attack or destroy significant cultural or religious sites. Try to avoid them at all costs. Don't hurt them. So if an enemy is using those sites for cover, then obviously I understand that from a strategic standpoint, it may become a legitimate target. I hate war. I despise it. But again, I understand it. It's time. It is necessary sometimes to defeat evil, to preserve life. I understand that. But I hate when significant culture or religious or art or anything like that is destroyed. I hate that. I like, and when it comes to anything historically significant, even if it represents a history we do not like, or even if it represents an ugly history, even if it represents something ugly, I don't like it to be tore down. I don't like it to be destroyed by any group, right? Like, hey, we're mad at America, so we're going to go after the possible tomb of Queen Esther and Mordecai. Okay, what? No, that doesn't make any sense. And I don't like when groups say, hey, we're mad that America did this in the past and did this in the past, so we want this statue tore down or this tore down. I'm not a fan of that either. I like art, historical sites, religious sites, whether they represent something good or whether they represent something bad. I like them to stand so that people can see them and then use that to be reminded of something good or to be reminded of something bad. Right? If someone erected a statue of an individual who has like 18,000 problems in their life and they did all kinds of horrible things, the statue can serve, sometimes we see it as an honor or an honor or a promotion of. It can just be a reminder of, a significant historical site or a statue of anything. It can just be a reminder of something, a reminder of a person. It may not necessarily be going, this is a person now it may originally have been put there to celebrate the person, but you can come back and tearing it all down removes it from sight. I would rather use it and go, hey, and you can change the plaque in front of it. Hey, this statue was erected. This site was built on this date to celebrate this person. And at that time, this person was celebrated. However, when we consider the fact that the person did A, B, C, D, some believe they should not be celebrated. So this is here to remind us of who this person was, the good they did, and the bad they did. And every person's life is like that. But so we got some groups who want to tear down sites, like, hey, we're mad at America, we want this site tore down. Someone just went to Plymouth Rock and defaced Plymouth Rock and some of the things around there. They defaced it with red paint. Why? What? No. Leave significant culture. Can't we just all agree to do that? If it's significant from an art perspective, a historical perspective, from any perspective, just leave it, and then we can go and we can talk about it. You can use it for educational purposes. You can use it. It doesn't mean it has to be a good thing. So you're mad at one country, so you're going to destroy something significant historical. Preserve our history. I'll never forget when I was little, and my mother was born and raised in San Antonio, Texas. So we went to San Antonio 2-3 times a year. We didn't live far away. 4 hours away, I think we lived from San Antonio. And every time we went to San Antonio, Texas, every single time we did the mission trail. We went to all the significant missions that were historical in San Antonio. And obviously, if you're going to do the mission trail in San Antonio, we all know where that's going to lead us. Remember the Alamo. Yes, the Alamo. Now, the Alamo, I've been there so many times. It's crazy. I can probably give you a tour in my mind of how everything is laid out. Well, it's been a while, so I'm assuming things are a lot different than it probably was when I went year after year after year. 2 times a year as a kid. I mean, 2 times a year was minimum. Sometimes I went more. But it was always funny because when people from other states or other parts of the country would show up and they would stand in front of the Alamo, they'd be like, this is not what I envisioned. This is not what I expected. Because it's like literally in the middle of downtown San Antonio. There's this big city around it. And then there's this little mission, the Alamo. Okay, but in front of the Alamo, if you're standing in front of the Alamo, to your left is a big monument of all the men who died in the Alamo. It's kind of it's this large monument. There's like a statue. It shows some of the individuals. It has their names. I think it was like white marble, if I remember, or white stone of some kind. And it was always, the story really captured my imagination as a child. It really did. And I read, I don't know how many books I read about it. And I never really perceived it about, yay, Texas, or yay, America, or ooh, boo, Mexico. I didn't really look at it from that perspective. What I looked at it and what really captured my imagination as a child was these men go into this mission. It really didn't serve any major strategic value. I don't know why Santa Anna just didn't march right around it. I really don't. I mean, we could get into the whole story, but they go and instead of just destroying it or doing whatever, we could get into a whole history. There's some argument about the history, but they go there and they decide, we're going to stand here. We're going to fight. We're not going to destroy this place. We're going to stay right here. We're going to fight. And I viewed it more from the significance of they were so outnumbered. They had to know they were going to die. They were standing in front of an innumerable force, a force that was so large that they had to know that they were going to die. They had to know that there was no way. Now they sent letters were sent asking for reinforcements, asking for help, and none was coming. And ultimately, that kind of worked out best because none was coming, and they were still to build up a significant force. And then finally, Santa Anna, and then they ultimately get beat. And I've been to that battlefield where they ultimately they remember the Alamo chant and all of that. Okay, or you get the idea. But so for me, it was just these individuals taking a stand, knowing that they had an insufficient amount of people and resources to stand against the larger, army of Mexico. There was no way they were going to be able to pull this off. There was no way they were going to be able to do so. So I was captivated by the story about taking a stand. I like this idea of being you can't win, but you are still so committed to a principle, so committed to an idea that even though it may be your death, here we stand, we're going to die. The whole drawing the line in the sand, the whole story just captured my imagination. So we go to the Alamo one morning. We always got there super early and way before they open, and we would just walk around. And we walked over to the monument, and someone had taken paint and threw it all over the monument. I mean, just all over it. And I was young, and I started crying. I got so mad. I probably started using obscenities even as a kid. I wanted to find the people. I wanted to have a physical altercation with them because I'm like, why would you do like whatever your view of Texas, them fighting for Texas independence, fighting, should we have this land? You can get into all the geopolitical arguments about whose land, who did what, whether right and whether wrong. It's still significant in the history of Texas. It's still significant in the history of Texas. It's significant in history gaining its independence. I was born on Texas Independence Day. So whether you like it or not, why deface it? Why try to destroy it? You can use it to say this battle took place. Now we can talk about the morality of it. Now we can talk about it. I don't like people who want to destroy historical or cultural or even significant art just for the sake of doing so, to try to make some larger point or to tear it down to try to make some point. No, the point is something happened in history. The point is it was significant in history. It was significant for what it was and we don't have to celebrate it. We don't have to say it's right. We look at it and go, this is what happened. We have to be reminded of our past. We have to be reminded. And so to destroy cultural, religious, significant sites of any kind, I don't want Islamic sites to be destroyed, significant religious or cultural sites of Islam to be destroyed. I don't want any sites of any particular group to be destroyed for any reason. I want it to remain there. There is, I don't remember what state, horrible story of a young African-American boy. I think he says hello to a white woman in the elevator. She claims that he assaulted her, tried to rape her. I can't remember all the claims. And then ultimately he gets lynched. He gets hung. Horrible story. Horrible story. Bothers me, makes me mad when I hear about it. But they put up a memorial there to remember this boy's death. And you know how many times that memorial has been torn down, shot? Like, what kind of wacko does that? And this is for in any look. Whatever. I mean, you've got to be a crazy racist to tear it down. But even if you're a racist and even if you disagree with it, it's still something that actually happened in history. Leave it there as a reminder of what happened. Even if you think, well, they shouldn't put some memorial because the person should have been hung. Even if you have some twisted, depraved view like that, at least leave it there to remind everyone that it happened. Destroying the past and tearing it down is crazy. I know that I kind of went from the destruction of Queen Esther's tomb to all of this, but it just reminded me of I don't like when anything like that gets torn down. I like the preservation of history. Good, bad. I don't care. I want it preserved. Let me struggle with the ethical dilemmas that presents, right? If I see a statue of a leader who owned slaves, right? Let me struggle with the ethical dilemma that presents. Oh man, this person was significant in the history of our country. Man, he was a slave owner. Man, that's kind of messed up. Well, slavery was a part of our country's history. It's ugly. He did some good, but he was a slave owner. It reminds me of a time in our country where human beings were bought and sold as property, and I never want to go back to that. Leave it there to remind me of that time. Leave it there to remind me that all of us as human beings, we have feet of clay. We're all flawed. We are all messed up. Leave it there. Leave the reminder there. The reminder. I view the reminder as being amoral, not possessing a morality in and of itself. The morality, the statue, the building, whatever, it's there, but it's simply there to remind me of an event. And then the event, the life of the person, morality is contained. Then I assign the moral value of what they did as either being good or bad. I struggle with that. It's just a reminder that this person lived. It's a reminder that this person did whenever I'm traveling in Texas, I made it it's a practice. If I'm driving and I see historical marker 1 mile ahead, I want to pull over and read that historical marker. I want to know what happened there. I'm always fascinated. Whenever I look at a place, I'm always like, I wonder what this place looked like in the 1800s. I wonder what this place looked like in the 1900s. I'm always fascinated by that. And a reminder of something that happened, a reminder of who's there. Again, it's just a reminder. There's no morality in the reminder. This person lived. This person did A, B, C. Now, yes, maybe you need to put, some extra letters there and also give a fuller context that while this person did 3 things, he also owned 100 slaves and had physical relations with some of the women who were slaves and produced children. Yeah, you can go ahead and that's more than fair to put there because now we get a fuller context of the individual. Just to remove things or to tear things down for ideological reasons. To me, the preservation of history, the preservation of art, the preservation of cultural significant sites, to me, is of greater significance than one's ideology. The preservation of history trumps ideology. I don't know. All right, this kind of went an interesting direction, but that's okay. When you have some group out there, we're mad at America, tear down, let's destroy this site. Hey, we're mad at what America did in the past. Tear down that statue, tear this down, remove that. Yeah, remove all reminders from history because hey, we don't need any physical reminders of history because the average person spends at least 30 minutes a week reading history books, right? Yeah. We don't need any physical reminders because people are so well versed in history. I mean, people are walking history encyclopedias. They can name all the presidents. They can tell you all the major events. Give me a break. People are historically illiterate. We need physical reminders to be reminded that, in fact, most of the statues that are there that are of some historical figure who did something, most people walked by and never even bothered to look at the little historical marker next to it. Stopping to read a historical marker is almost seen as being not cool, as being a nerd. You don't want to do that. You don't want to know the actual history. But, hey, I've got an ideology, and I'm going to make a statement for my ideology by tearing down a historical significant site. Hey, the Basij group in Iran, we've got an ideology, and we're mad. So what are we going to do? We're going to tear down a cultural, religious, significant site. Hey, your ideology should never be more important than history. History is there. Your ideology can interpret that history. Your ideology can assign an ethical value or morality to history, but you want to talk about the history and know the history, either to avoid it, to learn the good from it, but it should be there. All right? And the story of Queen Esther and Mordecai and that whole story, I mean, there's some significant things to be learned from that story. Don't you agree? I think so. So maybe leave the site there and make your point a different way. Just my thought. All right, I'll stop right there. Everyone have a great day. I'm going to pack up and go home. Thank you for tuning in to these live broadcasts coming to you live from VBC. I doubt I will be. I know I won't be here tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow night. I don't know. But if I'm not here tomorrow night, remember, tune in Sunday, about 10:15 a.m. will be Sunday school, 11:30 a.m. will be the morning worship, and 6 p.m. Sunday night will be the evening worship. If you can't be at church, tune in. If you can't tune in live, they'll be available on demand as soon as we are done. Email me at newsif@yahoo.com, newsif@yahoo.com. Everyone have a great day, a great weekend. God bless.